did you learn anything big or new in doing the research? Like some closeted person who we didn't know about, like whose was the most interesting story to you?
I'd say there were two stories, and they're both, I could say, scoops or sort of things that I discovered. One is a story of a man named Bob Waldron, who was around my age. He was in his mid-30s, from Texas. And he worked for LBJ, for Lyndon Baines Johnson, when he was the Senate Majority Leader and then as vice president, as an aide. And he would travel with him across the country and around the world. And then in the weeks after the Kennedy assassination, Waldron was preparing to join the White House staff when there was an investigation, because you have to go through a background check, obviously, if you're going to join the White House staff. And this was conducted by the Civil Service Commission, which did these sorts of procedures. And they discovered that Waldron was gay. And like that, he was gone. He was kicked out. His White House pass was revoked. And he was fired. And I was able to obtain the Civil Service Commission report of their investigation, as well as an FBI investigation that they also did into Waldron. And it was about 1,000 pages of documents that they had to go through, but it told the story in a really compelling and just tragically sad way. And this was a man who was very close to LBJ. And then he was gone in an instant. And it just showed you the power, again, that homosexuality had in the public imagination, that someone's entire life and career could be destroyed over it. And I would say the other most fascinating story was what almost was a scandal. It didn't become a scandal, but in the summer of 1980, just a couple of weeks before Ronald Reagan was nominated to be president, there were a group of sort of liberal to moderate Republicans who didn't like Reagan because he was a conservative. And they basically collected these sorts of scattered accusations from various people, alleging that Reagan was being controlled by a right-wing anti-communist homosexual cabal. And it sounds kind of crazy, but you have to remember, in 1967, when Reagan was governor, he did fire 2 men on his staff who were accused of being gay. And this became public. It was really sort of the first scandal of Reagan's political career. So he had this sort of scandal lurking in the background. And this basically came back when these Republicans collected these accusations, and they actually brought them to Ben Bradley, the legendary editor of the Washington Post. And Bradley took it quite seriously. He got Bob Woodward and several other, top-notch reporters at the Post to investigate this story. They went out across the country and interviewed various people. And they ultimately didn't publish a story about it because they discovered that, yes, there were a couple of gay men who worked for Reagan, but there was no, nefarious conspiracy going on. But it does show you, I think, again, the power of these accusations that they could wield. And I found all this information in Ben Bradley's papers, in his paper collection, which is at the University of Texas. There's just a folder in a box that I came across one day doing my research, and all the notes from the various reporters and the documentation was in that folder. So that was
it's very witch hunty. Today we do different kinds of witch hunts for people. Like, do you have secret implicit bias someplace in your head? We'll find you. But this feels very witch hunty too. Speaking of, the way the narrative goes today, I wanted to ask you about some of the reaction to the book. Lots of positive reaction from both the left and the right. Hugh Hewitt said, literally every page is a revelation to me. But then you've got reviews like the Washington Post that felt it was too white. And too focused on men. It's just a book about gay men. You focus too much on men.
Well, it's a gay book. It's a book about gay people. It's about gay men and women. But I'll just say, look, I was writing a book about Cold War Washington. And the reality is that people who had power, and that's what I'm writing about. I'm writing about political power. I'm not writing about the local community of Washington, D.C. I'm writing about the federal government, about Congress, the Senate, the executive branch, the presidency, the Defense Department, right? The vast majority of people who held political power in our country in this period were white men. There were very few black people, very few women in any positions of seniority in Washington.
Of course.
I think our country would have been a much better place if we had more women and people of color in positions of power in the 20th century. But that's not what our history shows.
That's not what the facts are.
It's not what the facts are. So I was writing about facts. I'm a journalist and I'm a historian. I'm concerned with facts about the way things were, not how we perhaps wanted them to be. Of course, the world that I wanted in the 20th century would have been much nicer to gay people, a more hospitable place for them. But that's not the reality.
Are you tired of feeling like someone's always watching you on the internet? Maybe advertisers know a little bit too much about you. Or you're concerned about the privacy of your identity. Using incognito mode will not solve the problem either. IPVanish VPN is here to protect your right to privacy and to help you stay anonymous online. IPVanish helps you safely browse the internet without exposing your private details to third parties. You can use IPVanish on your computer, your tablet, your phone, even devices like your Fire Stick when you're streaming media. When you use IPVanish, all of your data is encrypted. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online, and that's what you want to be. It's that simple. Right now, IPVanish is offering an incredible 70% off their yearly plan for our listeners, along with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That is like getting 9 months for free. IPVanish, super easy to use. All you have to do is tap one button. You are instantly protected. Take your privacy back today with the brand rated 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Go to ipvanish.com/Megyn and use that promo code Megyn to claim your 70% savings. That's ipvanish.com/MEGYN. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.